Hello, everybody. I am doing something a little bit out of the norm. I'm sort of in my messy home studio. A couple of things that came across my desk, if you will, or at least my in my other work that I do. I begin my mornings by sort of surfing the internet and catching minimally up on some of the news and looking at some of my friends who in the automotive world and see what's going on and what they're up to and what they capture. There's a couple of things that have been crossing my desk for a while now that does sort of dovetail into what's going on with some of my earlier videos on the horribleness, if you will, the awful things that are going on with our vehicles, our new vehicles. And when I noted the problems with the $5,600 repair on that 2018 Ford Limited truck, which, by the way, came back. I may do a separate video on this. That truck went back into the shop again for another problem with the electrical. Unrelated, though, to the issue at hand at the time, which was the CAN bus system, if you remember, that caused the $5,600 repair. But there's some things going on, especially in blue states. So this is somewhat political, but I think it's time. To be honest with you, it's time that the automotive enthusiast industry and, those people who are, their own mechanics, their own doers, if you will, those people who want to create their own space and owned space, are going to have to face. You may not care about politics. And I've faced this in some of the online discussion boards. You might not care about politics, but politics definitely cares about you. And if you don't know it, they're coming after us, and they've been coming after us for a long time. There was a book written quite some time ago. I'll have to get I'll make sure I get the book cover up. It's like Gearheads and Junkyards, I think, is the name of the book. This has been going on since you could say the late 60s, early 70s, when they tried to get rid of our junkyards. To me, they are, when I go on I call it a junkyard crawl or whatnot, that video I did, to me, it's not really a junkyard. It's sort of a sad place. It's a cemetery, if you will. But it's also a place to look at what went by. And I find, if you're like Steve Magnanti, who's in the hospital, and I hope he gets well, dealing with a serious brain infection. He calls them junkyard gold, and that's how I view them. I view a lot of these places as gold opportunities. People throw things away, and a lot of the cars that are in these junkyards are actually worthy of being salvageable. And I would hope that someone who has a lot more resources than I do would be able to pick some of these cars or trucks. Since I'm more partial to trucks and Broncos, that type of thing. Get them out of the junkyard. But so that's a long way to say they started with the junkyards to get them out of business, to move them, to shut them down. This is quite well documented in the book Gearheads and Junkyards. I think I hope I got the name of the title right. I'll have to do a review on that one of these days. That book, like I did for the book on shop classes, Soulcraft. But there's something else going on. And of course, this comes from California. Now, I think California is, sort of a good precursor because it's a nutty state that has been in control of one party for about 100 years. And if you're looking for what our political ruling class wants to do, you just look at California. So what's the issue that came up? Sorry for the long intro, but what is the issue that came up? And it was basically this, that California is probing the driving habits of vintage car owners because they want to go to zero emission zones. What this essentially means is that what they're doing, as I can, maybe I can just read a part of it here, is that they're sending out a survey for anything 78 or earlier, seeking to figure out how much you drive them. Now, the reason for that is because they want to get our cars off the road. And if you read the book Gearheads and Junkyards, you'll find that this is not new. That in the 1990s, under a federal encouragement, the cash for clunkers and that type of thing took off to get old cars off the road because of this thing called global warming. Now, we can debate global warming all you want. Me personally, it's a hoax, and for this basic reason, I just don't think human beings are stronger than nature. And while sure, you want to be good stewards of the earth, this is not about the environment. EV cars are far dirtier than the internal combustion engine. It just is, and they're far more dangerous. And not to mention things like Tesla, which I've mentioned in my intro video. If you go look at that, I've mentioned that Tesla has, and many of our modern cars, not just Tesla, can shut off your car, and you can do nothing about it. Well, Tesla in particular has a proprietary rider, if you will, in every one of their cars, whereas if you touch it, you void the warranty. You have to take Tesla back to the Tesla factory to work on it. So this totally shortcuts individual and especially male desire drive, which is our nature, to fix things, tinker with things, improve things, modify things. Tesla doesn't want you to do that. Tesla wants you to be locked into their system. So this is along those lines. They want to really shut down the car enthusiast, truck enthusiast, classic enthusiast community. And this is what's happening in California. This is a precursor to what is going to what is coming. And so this recent story by Stephen Symes, where California is looking to restrict travel for classic cars, is a case in point. That they want to allow local governments to institute what they call zero emission zones, which is funny if you think about it, because even electric cars, EVs, are not zero emission. If anybody's interested in any of this, just go to the Climate Depot, which is a good place to start about this. The scientific community is not 100%. It's actually quite divided on global warming and where it comes from. But I don't want this to be about that per se, as much as it is about the car enthusiasts and truck enthusiasts, and even on some of these boards who ban political speech, because all they want to do is talk about technical aspects of fixing a car or truck or engine and talk about the mechanics of it. Those people are they're coming for you, okay? They really are coming for you. And your website is going to be shut down or regulated. And the more you ignore it, the more you're on their team. I mean, there's no other way to put it. You are going to allow this to happen. And I think that we have a moral responsibility as human beings to fulfill our nature in this way, to protect sort of the manly pursuits of the either professional or the backyard mechanic. And so anyway, they want to shut it down. They want to shut down classic cars, and they want to be able to dictate what kind of cars we have, when they can be driven, where they can be driven, and how often they can be driven, if at all. I think what they would rather do is, this is just a precursor to get the classic car community off the streets. It's a way to get all classic cars off the streets. If you want to put them in a museum and never start them up, I think they'd be absolutely fine with that as a stopgap until they actually just erase it all, which is very sad. The Daily Caller, I just want to highlight this point right here, that the Daily Caller points out how CARB issued a report back in 2019 suggesting the states should allow local jurisdictions to create zero emission zones. And these zones have taken over all over London and the UK. Now, so this is happening all over the West in Western civilization. It's not happening in the East, by the way. And this week I've just sort of been fascinated with watching. There's one website, I think it's called, I think I've got it pulled up over here, Discovering Skills, where these people in the East, they're like in India or some other countries where they're taking like cracked heads or literally cracked, broken crankshafts, and they are making them new. It's just fascinating to me. And they're all doing this low tech. So this is not any high tech stuff. They are using low tech repair options to keep things on the road. Now, so in that sense, in the East, there's more freedom than there is in the West. And there's more ingenuity going on than in the West. And they're not a throwaway culture, let's put it that way. But we are quickly becoming that. And by the way, how is that for the environment? It's just a question. But anyway, so California is looking at this. Now you might say, oh, well, they're just looking at this. That's no big deal. Yeah, looking at it is the first step to doing it. And if there's any state that's going to go off the rails, it's going to be California, which they already have. Let me show you something here. This is you probably don't know this, but there was an article. Let's see if I can find this video real quick. This is something unrelated, but in California, right here, you can see California exhaust noise regulations are ridiculous. This is again by Stephen Symes. I mean, I'm glad this guy is writing, because he's bringing stuff to the fore that I had no clue was happening. So let's check this out. I mean, this is I'll just play this video here.
Oh God, a cop's behind me.
So this guy's got a cop behind him, and he's going to pull him over here in just a second.
Yeah, I saw him turn.
This guy's in a 2022 car, by the way.
Yeah.
And I want you to listen to the cop here. This is not the bash cops, but this cop is gleeful that he's pulling this guy over.
I know.
Hi guys, I'm Motor Officer Canright.
Hey officer, how you doing?
Doing okay. Hey, what year is this vehicle?
22.
Why is it backfiring?
It's
making noise.
I know, it's how it comes
Backfiring.
stock.
Really?
Yeah, you can check under the hood if you'd like.
Oh no, I'll just send you to the state rep, and what they'll do is send you back to the factory to have whatever. Is it in track mode?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so what they're going to do here, let me have your license. So what happens is I send you to the state rep. All right, state rep for here in California. They're going to suspend your registration.
Okay.
You can't drive the car. You got to go take it to the state rep. They're going to look at it. They're going to send you back to the dealer. The dealer has to remove the track ops that you have to pay for. It's about $4,000. Once that's been done, you go back to the state rep to verify all the track modes have been removed. You cannot drive this on the road with the track mode.
Oh, I can't?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know that.
Well, you
officer.
won't be able to anymore. You've just lost this. You're going to spend about $7,000 on this car right now. Go ahead and get me the registration. I don't need to look under the hood.
Okay.
You can't track rally motor illegal on the road.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know that.
Well, it's your money, not mine.
Right.
They tell you this at the dealer. If not, you could sue the dealer for the money. Tell them you want your $4,000 or $5,000 back.
Sure. Yeah, they didn't tell me that.
No, I'm sure they did. They're required by law.
Oh, is that
You
so?
cannot operate track mode on the road.
Oh, okay. Yeah, they didn't tell me that.
Well,
so.
then I would sue them, all right, for this ticket.
Okay.
Yeah, you're going to have to. Get the insurance.
Sure.
Okay, yeah. He just seems he really loves his job a lot, doesn't he? So this is what they're going to do. And look, so it's not just classic cars now, is it? It's going to be all cars that even if you buy them, that they're going to try and get them off the road. The goal of this, which sounds just fantastic and wildly not conspiratorial, but look at what they do. The actions of these governments in these blue states are to remove cars from the street, all of them. And only the approved cars will be on the street. Really, what they want to do is move us all off vehicles. Period. Part of the reason for that is because they don't want us to have individual freedom of movement, and that's why most all cars come with this system that talks to satellites, and they can be shut off. So, what am I asking for here? I don't really know what the answer to this is. That the classic car community is going to have to get together, and I mean all across the board. And because the political situation of when it comes to these types of laws is going to remove our freedom of movement and our liberty to travel. And I mean, that's the big, large picture. And when it comes to classic cars, they just want to eliminate them. We're never going to see what a real car feels like, looks like, drives like. And we're going to get rid of sort of these sort of rustic, do-it-yourself type of communities. And in general, that's bad for culture. If people do not know how to do things for themselves, they're going to have to rely on others to do it for them when they tell them that they can have it and how they can have it. So these are really dark, perilous times. And if you're in a place like California, I would just suggest you get out. You probably don't know this, but I was born in L.A. And at the time, when I was there a long time ago, L.A. was great. But it's a corrupt state. And these blue states are all going to do this. The only option that people have is to move to a red state to protect a little bit of what you have and to protect your family and to protect your liberty. And the classic car community, the do-it-yourselfers, those who like real things and doing real things need to get out of these states. And I'm sorry to say they're Democrat states. And move to states that are more friendly to you. There really is no option now. Okay? Hang loose.